I'd like to call this meeting to order of the May 24th, 2021 school board meeting. Roll call, please.
Charles Blacklands.
Here.
Kevin Boyles.
Here.
Tom Hageland.
Here.
Ruth Nelson.
Here.
Bob Nystrom.
Here.
Jana Shogren.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, welcome everyone. It's really nice to see people back in here. This is probably the first time in well over a year, really, that we've been able to have people in here. So it's good to see everyone. I just have to make a quick announcement. So due to the current and federal state emergency declarations, the Minnesota Directive to Residents guidance about limiting person-to-person contact, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting, the Brainerd School Board, is being conducted in accordance with Minnesota Statute 13D.021. We will be taping this meeting. It is also being done live on YouTube. Secondly, you'll notice that many of us are not wearing masks, and so our state association, Minnesota State School Board Association, received word from the Minnesota Department of Education that the COVID-19 mask requirement no longer applies to school board meetings. The mask requirement for Minnesota schools pursuant to the Safe Learning Plan is for during the school day or school activities. The Brainerd School Board is choosing to follow the Minnesota Department of Health and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention of strongly recommending that anyone who is not fully vaccinated continue to wear face coverings while attending indoor meetings, and people who are fully vaccinated are not required to wear face coverings indoors or outdoors. Okay, so having said that, we will move to item number 4, approval of the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Shogren, second by Director Blacklands to approve the agenda as amended. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. Next, we'll have district recognitions from Superintendent Larson.
All right, thank you. Congratulations to the Brainerd High School Warrior Athletes of the Year, Emma Storbakken and Max Luica. About a week and a half ago, we had the all-school sports banquet, and we were so excited to have all the achievements and accomplishments and to recognize these two outstanding athletes. You know, I have to say that the last 2 weeks, you can tell by my voice a little bit, we've been running pretty much ragged, but it has been so much fun because there have been so many great activities and so many recognitions of our outstanding students and staff. And I just really want to commend all of our kids for the work that they've done, for the coaches, the teachers, the directors, for really finishing strong this year. With that being said, I also want to take this time to congratulate all of the graduates of 2021. The stars, as I said at the last meeting, the stars have certainly aligned because I have never witnessed a more beautiful graduation than last Friday night when all those kids got to be there and they could have all their loved ones. And so I concur with you that it's really fun to have people back. So that's all the recognitions I have today. So.
Thanks, Superintendent Larson.
Yeah.
We are going to move into public input, and I just have to make a comment here. So some of you may be planning to address an issue during the public comment portion of today's meeting. We welcome your comments. Please be reminded that we must comply with Board Policy 206, and the following limitations will apply during today's public comment period. 1, the school board will enforce a 3-minute limit on each person speaking. 2, during the public comment session, complaints or allegations against students or employees may not be discussed due to data privacy. Complaints or allegations must be submitted in writing to Superintendent Larson. And 3, please be advised there will be no verbal interaction or question answer with the Board of Education or Superintendent of Schools. So
Chair Nystrom,
Yeah.
could I speak before we introduce public
Sure.
comment? Thank
Yeah.
you, thank you. I just want to speak to everyone because in the past week, we have received multiple emails, both positive and negative, about the staff training that was planned to happen this week. And I've answered many of them. I haven't been able to answer all of them, and I'm sorry if I missed any. But I just want to say that we realigned that training, but we, the board, is very committed to that work of equity. I believe we possibly put the cart in front of the horse and caused an unintentional pushback. The district, like I said, the district, including the board, remains totally committed to equity. We have a fairly new equity team. Today, during this meeting, we're going to add a board member or two to that equity team. And they need time to develop plans and present them to administration and the board. It was great to hear some of the comments, and a couple of people had some very interesting ideas on how to make this work more transparent, including following our PLC model for work where we actually have goals and we align those goals and figure out how we're going to accomplish it. And I think we also need to figure out a way to be more open with our community, more transparent. We try to do that. It's often very hard. But as a school board member, and I think speaking on behalf of the rest of the board, we are very committed to both equity and transparency. So anyway, I just wanted to say that before all of our public members speak, so you know where we stand. During comment periods, we really don't usually respond to people that are speaking. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Director Nelson. Yeah, I'd like to echo what Director Nelson said. And also so you understand, because I know some of you were wondering about who makes this decision. Typically, this is not the school board that makes this decision. It's done by our administrative team. And like Ruth said, it's sort of like putting the apple cart in front of the horse. You know, we have our equity task force that meets, and we want to be as transparent as possible, but we received a lot of input from the community on this. So we are still going to do this equity work, but it's going to be in a more tailored approach. So, and the reason we got involved was simply we had so many emails from the community, phone calls, and so that's when we took it to our administrative team, just so you're aware. So having said that, we'll start our public comment. I don't know who's going to go first. Okay, and if you could please state your name.
Yes.
Hello. Oops, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
I'm Susanna Lamuska, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here and voice some concerns. I have 2 students in the elementary district. I do have some questions surrounding this in-service training day. Basically, why was he invited? Who was involved in finding and hiring him? Who was and wasn't told about him coming and why? What was the goal that was being met by this specific person coming? Can there be more community involvement with the Equity Exploration District that the district is conducting? Can there be parent involvement and community members? Were there other people considered for this training? If not, why? And how was this person decided on over other trainers? And then why wasn't any of this information public or on the ISD website?
Okay, thank you for that. And what I will say is I promise that we will get back to you with answers to your questions.
Thank you, and I appreciate being here today.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Sure. Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Maya Hermerding. I am a graduate of Brainerd High School and the ISD 181 school system, and I will be attending the University of Minnesota Law School in the fall. I handed out my statement if you'd like to follow along. Dear ISD 181 School Board, administrators, and community members, on Friday, I wrote a strongly worded email expressing my concern about the cancellation of a training that was to be given by a University of Minnesota professor. I intended to share my frustration at this meeting, but have since changed my approach. I want to thank the school board members and administrators, because I trust that even if Dr. Lensmeyer won't help train our educators, they will find somebody else equally qualified to do so. Before I continue, I'd like to introduce you to one of my favorite quotes from an author included in the ISD 181 curriculum, Mark Twain. Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all one's lifetime. But in a pandemic-ridden world, one cannot travel in the same way as before. So how is one to expand their worldview? I propose substituting the word education for travel in the quote. Education is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all one's lifetime. It is thanks to the education I received at ISD 181 that I have been able to travel the world, learn of other cultures, vibrant but different ways of living. It is thanks to the education at ISD 181 que yo puedo dar este discurso en español, that I could have this discussion in Spanish. These opportunities should be accessible to generations of warriors to come. Education, even when we don't agree with the approach, is not something to be feared. It is through exploring opinions with which we do not agree that we best form our own beliefs. And so I thank you, school board and administration, for including esteemed academics like Dr. Timothy Lensmeyer in the ISD 181 faculty training, as he instructs our educators how to examine, criticize, and reconstruct our ideas of the teacher's role, student voice, and community in critical classroom spaces. We will be taking a step toward more broad, wholesome, and charitable views of humanity. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hermiday.
Hi, my name is Lori Shepard, and I'm here today to get some information. I want to find out, and I need some help finding out, where I can get information on what is actually being taught. I was not aware of this equity thing going on right now, but the word equity itself can mean very many different things to very many different people. I want to see what's actually going on in the classroom. And I need information on where to get that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, okay. Thank you very much for your comments. We'll move on with the approval of minutes for the regular board meeting of May 10th, 2021.
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, okay. We have a motion by Director Haglund, second by Director Nelson to approve the minutes of May 10th, 21. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Next, we have the consent calendar, which you should have all been able to read beforehand.
I move the approval of the consent calendar.
A second.
Okay. We have a motion by Director Nelson, second by Director Blacklance to approve the consent calendar as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passes unanimously. Next, we have presentations on is this the first look at the 21-22 budget?
She's just giving you an overview.
Oh, okay.
We'll approve the budget at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you nailed it. So in your packet is a summary, and I'm just going to walk you guys through it. And if you feel free to ask questions if you. Do you want it up? No, it doesn't need to be up. It's in the board packet, unless you guys want me to put it up. So we started off with the unassigned deficit revision 1, which is about $1 million. And then we went through our projected revenue. So Title I and Title II are projected to go down 10%. We did get some preliminary allocations. So Title I Part A and Title II, we did put in the estimates. And then the other two, Title I Part D and Title IV, we continued to use that 10% because we still don't know what that is, but that is in there. And then also changes in the levy. As you know, we do our levy in the fall, and it's actually for the following year, so that's already set. Those numbers are in there. And then the general education aid formula, we still have 0% in there. And then compensatory aid, as you know, is decreasing this year. We did try to get those numbers up, but it is gonna go down. So that's in the projected revenue increase line. The projected CARES revenue, as I get further down, you'll see that we added positions back with the CARES funds that we had. So with those positions, this is the amount of revenue we're projecting right now to use of that CARES revenue, about 2.4 million. The projected increase in existing expenses, so what we do is we project out, based on our staff, the salary and benefits, and then also contracted transportation, our big ticket items, and that comes to about the $1.5 million that you see there. And then also our OPEB draw is going to be, we can actually draw more, and with the CARES funds, there is an opportunity to use 5% admin chargeback, which helps us out as well. So you'll see that's all in that number. Cost savings from staff replacements. So right now you'll see we have postings, transfers, the dominoes are falling right now. So this is everything we know as of today, 279,000 in savings from staff replacements. That number will change. And as I'm going through this document, you guys, this may look completely different in a month. I just want to put that out there because the 0% on the gen ed aid at the very bottom, subject to change on Minnesota legislature, if they come back and say, hey, we're going to give 1% on the formula, 2%, that is going to affect this number. So I just want to put that out there that, yes, this is a large number, but we're very hopeful that it will decrease by the time I have to present this in June. The proposed net expense adjustments, so that's when we go through and we say, okay, what are our needs? What can we reduce? That number is that 77,000. Looking at our student counts, staffing, supplies, all of that, that's where that number comes in at. And then we have the cost of positions to revisit. So throughout the summer, we'd like to assess our students and where we're at. And so there are some positions we put on hold until that time frame if they really are needed. And that would add about 155,000 to that $1 million number. And that's net of special ed reimbursement. So it'd be about 2.1 that we'd be looking at next year. And again, that's not including the gen ed aid that we potentially will get from the legislature. So we take that into account. The unassigned fund balance right now is projected to end this year at 6.6 million. However, we do have projected savings from contracts. The CARES funding is helping. So that 770,000 we're gonna add but that to our fund balance and then take out the projected unassigned deficit of 2 million. We'd be sitting at about 5.3 million or 5.79% of the projected expenses. And then below that is a summary, so you guys can see the FTE of positions added. I put a note on there, the majority is special ed for certified and non-certified. We're gonna be adding about 19 FTE. The positions added with CARES funds, so we have a target for our elementaries, starting with 23 in kindergarten, and we add one at each grade level. We went above to the top max of 10%. We have it color coded, so it's orange in our world. We put those class sizes at orange, and then to get them back to the target, we used CARES funds. So that's where these CARES positions are being added. You'll see 24, and then one non-certified is a new position. I just want to say that if we didn't have those CARES funds, you guys, this would be a totally different picture. I'm very thankful that we had the federal money come. Positions transferred in, so between our buildings, we'll transfer staff depending on the needs. So there's about 4 non-certified staff that will be transferring in and out. And then positions reduced, part of that number is getting that, those reductions, getting those target numbers to orange, and then also other reductions that we sought were necessary. And then positions reduced from CARES funds, that was just one position that was currently funded from the CARES and is going to be ending in September. So there's just a slight reduction there. Positions replaced, we had almost 33 positions that we've replaced. And then that's where the savings come in way up top. And then the positions to revisit, we have about 9 FTE that we will be revisiting. And, you know, that seems like a large number, but the expense isn't as large, and it's because the sped reimbursement brings that number down. Whenever we talk sped, I do it net of the reimbursement. So if it doesn't look like, well, how do you get 9 FTE out of 155,000? That's why. So that is basically the first page, and then the second page is just a summary of the adjustments by site, so the expense and then the FTE total. We break it out by district-wide, elementary, middle school, high school, the Brainerd Learning Center, Lincoln Education Center, and then ECSE. And that breaks down in total at the very bottom. And the one thing I just wanted to notate on here, because it is a little confusing, CARES reductions, you know, it is a positive number. It's the position that's ending in September. So it's a positive in that we only pay for it until September, and then it drops off. And that CARES funding is additional, so it's not a negative. I feel like I'm talking in Greek, but that's how it works in my world. And then I also wanted to point it out that the transfers in and transfers out, there is FTE there, but not dollar amounts. We're still figuring out what staff that is, so that's why there's no dollar amounts in those items. Is there any questions on? This is just a real brief overview of what we have going on, and then in June, we'll present the actual budget that you guys will be approving, just to kind of give you guys an idea of where we're at.
Marcy, I have two questions. One is, do you know yet what the state has determined as the maximum levy amount that we'll see in September?
Nope, they have not. That'll all be set, and then I actually won't start talking about that until September. We'll
Okay.
get the preliminary allocations for that, for the following year.
So that impacts the following
Yes,
school year, right?
exactly,
Right.
exactly.
The other thing is, we just want to reiterate what she was saying, in the fact that the state hasn't, they're going to have a special session in the middle of June. And so we should know a lot more. So this number right now, we're not as alarmed as the number looks at this point, because the state hasn't settled their work for education. And so, again, it's really important. We're anxious to see what kind of support is there for schools, so.
Director Nelson?
Yeah, I just had one question. When I look at the breakout of additions and CARES additions between elementary, middle, and high school, I thought where we needed the help most was at the middle school, and yet that seems that's where the least number of additions are. So I'm just curious why that would be.
So the additions there are the two in the 7th and 8th grade level, and then also the counselor. And so that, everything that you said is in there.
It's in there.
Yep. It just looks like such a large quantity at the elementary, because we're bringing those sections back to target, and that is a lot of the sections that, or staff that we are adding back and using those funds.
So this additions aren't really true additions. They're not the net additions.
Right.
Correct.
Right. So if, I'll give you an example. If we were going to get to the orange at, say, Lowell, we'd
Which is
reduce,
the high number? The high number, okay.
we'd reduce 5 sections, so that's in the reductions. But then to get to the target, we'd add back 2.5 FTE.
Okay. And that's how we're using the CARE fund?
And it's
Yes.
using the CARES funds to keep our class size down.
Okay.
Yep.
So we are
So-
helping the middle school this coming year.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep, we are.
Okay, thank you.
And the CARES dollars really are helping the elementary too, because we're able to keep our class size really low again because of those dollars. And we always pride ourselves in the fact that for a school this size, our class size in the elementary is really a very reasonable, manageable amount. And we're able to do that this year because of those CARES dollars, so.
Thank you.
Marcy, how about new positions due to the building project, like new or extra custodians? That's all factored in?
Yep, the only thing that we added for the project was 1 custodian at the high school.
Oh, okay.
Reed was able to figure out, with South Campus being under construction, he's actually just going to transfer 2 positions over to the Welk. And then next year, you guys would probably see an additional 2 staff.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, next we have the presentation of the Blueprint 181 project update. Damien and Scott.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see everybody again.
In person.
And in person, absolutely. Great day today. We had, we ordered some awesome weather for the groundbreaking at South Campus. What an awesome groundbreaking. I don't know if everybody's just that excited to get together, but it was just great to see everybody. So, so super excited. We're really excited about everything. Today is the first day that school is out and the work begins. Our teams have worked really tirelessly over the last few months to be well planned, whether it's schedules or procurement or all that it takes to work through these projects over the summer. But many of us are just very excited to start putting the work in place. So we got a busy few months together, and we're excited for fall of 2021. So. All right, we'll get started. Our bond improvements update, May 24th, 2021. Project updates, high school proposal request number 39, some safety and security changes, and then also we'll be reviewing the high school academic wing design development document review. With that said, I'm going to turn this over to Scott Whitmore.
All right, Area 2, we are substantially complete up there. Same with the auditorium. Over the weekend, you'll notice that we got the tar put back in. It's all striped out, seated on the north end, and then MCI was in over the weekend knocking out some punch list items as well. Area 10, which was the pool, we are working on the surge tank. The north half of the pool is formed out. By the end of this week, surge tank should be far enough along. We'll be able to get the rest of the plumbing going. Area 6, which is our CTE, kind of our fax rooms expansion. Those rooms are essentially complete. We are waiting on some countertops that were extremely long lead time. I think they'll be in June 1st. They're going to show up and we'll get those installed. Here in the next couple of days, you'll start seeing some of those temp walls go down. And then you'll be able to see the a la carte and the Warrior Warehouse and all that fun stuff. So it's been slowly getting completed behind the veil of a temporary wall, and it's kind of surprising how quick that area is
Scott,
going.
can you tell us what a surge tank and MEP rough-in is?
Oh, sorry.
Some people might
mechanical,
know, but-
electrical, plumbing,
okay.
rough-ins, and then surge tank is so when they drain the pool, it essentially goes to a big collection basin prior to it getting pumped out into the sanitary system.
And in the greenhouse, is that at there used to be a greenhouse for the vocational school, but is this the one that's in the high school?
Correct.
Okay.
It's on the east side of B wing. So just south of the main entrance there, those footings and foundations that went in. We are putting the trench drains in today, and I think we're planning on getting the actual greenhouse structure in about 3 weeks. So that will be pretty exciting. Area 7, we're just padding out ceiling and finishes. So that's all those rooms on the south side of the fax labs. Area 9, which is the Ox Gym. I'm sure you saw as you were leaving, our crane was sitting on the street waiting for all the cars to get out of there so we could pull it in. They're going to set up and get all the counterweights set and potentially start lifting swing today, but most likely tomorrow. And then PR 39, as brought up earlier, with this system, essentially it's getting everything on the same page. So adding all the strikes, the key cards, wire pulls, things of that nature across the entire building. There was a number of doors that were on the old system. So reverting those to, I guess, the new safety and security system. So that's what the PR change is. 39. Also, you'll see in there was a fax lab emergency shutoff, which per code we need to have an emergency shutoff next to all those hoods, and then a wire receptacles in the base of our big structure in our main entrance. So that's all incorporated in that $58,005.42.
Should we act on that before we go further?
And we have plenty of money in our contingency still to cover these.
That's correct.
Yeah, maybe we should act on that, and then we can discuss the schematic. Does someone have a motion or any other questions about proposal request 39?
I'll move the proposed request 39 for approval not to exceed $5,005.42.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Nelson, second by Director Boyles to approve proposal request 39 for the Brainerd High School North Campus not to exceed $58,005.42. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passes unanimously.
I think you're ready, you can do them both.
Do they want to talk about that, or?
At the end of the presentation, we'll talk about a building.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
All right, South Campus. So, as we were just there and did the groundbreaking, you'll notice there was a number of items being pulled out. So right now, buildings and grounds, teachers, district technology, everybody's over there right now, moving stuff out. And High Tech's been in, same with Thielen and Holden Electric, rerunning some power for temp power during construction. And we have been doing some hazardous material abatement, as well as draining down a lot of the existing systems. And in the unoccupied portion of the building, we have been removing ceiling tiles and some lockers, things of that nature, just to open up for circulation once everyone's out and we start swinging hammers for sure next week, Tuesday. Yeah, so demolition, June 1, it's gonna start changing very, very quick. It's gonna be a busy street over there. Any questions on South Campus?
I was just going to say, and it came up in the speeches today, but you know, this building does have a lot of changes that have to be made, and this is actually the fourth different type of school that's in that building. So the first, was the vocational technical school, built in 1964. That was there for probably at least 30 years with Harry Neisather. And then the second was Mississippi Horizons. It was the closest thing we ever had to a magnet school for middle school. Third was South Campus for the high school, and of course, it's still, for ninth graders, I really should say, and then now special ed. And it's just so exciting, all the, Sourcewell giving this very generous contribution to allow us to really build this state-of-the-art facility. And thank you, you guys, for all the work that you're doing to make this happen.
You're welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, next we have Warrior Early Learning Center. Continuing with the site work, working on the punch list, working on commissioning. Staff occupancy was received today, so staff is in the building, so that's great news. And with the sun shining, we're gonna get a lot put together here, so a lot of good progress. Gonna get that wrapped up.
Is substantially all the work done in that building, or is there still quite a bit?
Inside the building, we're mainly working outside the building right now.
Oh, okay.
That's where our driving force is now. We have Anderson Brothers on site. They've been great to work with. I know there's been some things I've been working through, some challenges on site, but City of Baxter's been working with us, and so has Widseth.
Okay, thank you.
There weren't any delays for the teachers to get in?
No. Yep, it worked out, so. It's never easy, there's always these little challenges along the way, and you just gotta work together and work through them. Garfield Elementary, interior demo continues. Asbestos removal is completed in the kitchen area. Started CMU walls at the admin and kitchen additions. Again, a lot of work's been done. It's, I went in there on Thursday. It's amazing. It's amazing how much stuff we've already gotten accomplished. So we're really excited to continue on here. You're gonna see a lot of action.
Will their admins stay in their building this summer where they are now in their temporary location, or will they be coming somewhere else in the district during the summer months?
I believe they're gonna be able to stay in the media center.
They'll be in the media center, okay. Because I knew that Riverside was coming over here, and I wasn't sure if Garfield was going to be moving too. Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
All right, Mark Needham is gonna give us a quick update on Lowell and Riverside.
Hi, good afternoon. So Lowell, we're off to the races, so to speak. We've started a lot of the parking lot activities there, so curb and gutter installation is ongoing. We've started excavation for the planter box and foundations, so the front of the building's starting to take shape. Other good news, we've got all the storm lines and underground systems in place there as well, so that's progressing very nicely on the site. Other activities, we've got interior demolition taking place. most of the, or I should say all but the kitchen in the lower level is demoed out, and architectural finishes, so walls and mechanical, electrical, plumbing, all those activities are starting to take place kind of towards the end of that. A lot of it's in place already, but we've got a good jump in that space. Other activities to note, the boilers have been shut down, and there's a kind of an interesting picture if you've never seen the inside of a boiler there, as to what that looks like past all the shell of it, so.
Mark, a question on that.
Yeah.
You know, so many things today are built where they won't last that long. I'll give you our air conditioner blew out over the weekend. Only 14 years old, and the guy said, we don't make them like they used to.
Yep.
But I bet with boilers, they have to make them last. How long do you think this boiler will last?
Oh, that's a good question. I wouldn't know off the top of my head.
Good answer.
But there are plenty of documents that could tell us all about warranties and how long they're supposed to last. And I could definitely
But
follow
50
up.
years, do you think? 40, 50 at least?
Boy, that'd be a push.
Okay, because the one that's in there now, it's got to be
Oh, yeah.
original.
These steam boilers that we're taking out now are definitely heavy duty. They're not easy to take apart. So it's like that little piece that's in that picture right there. They've been working on tearing that thing down for about a week now. So yeah, you don't just pick it up and throw it out. It's hefty. So
Actually, on those old boilers like those, that's like a Morrison tube boiler. So those require annual inspection and then a recertification every X amount of years in order to just, be certified by the state of Minnesota high pressure steam, folks. But I don't think it's as rigid as a process now with these new Fulton package boilers that we have going in. They're a little more streamlined.
A lot of the components still, even with an older boiler, I mean, you're still changing out a lot of the components. The shell itself will last a long time, but you still got the burners and different things, the pumps and the burners and all the different parts and pieces that still need maintenance and do keep Reed very busy.
I'm sure he appreciates a new boiler.
Yeah, they won't last like the steam boilers will. It's different technology, it's different systems that we're dealing with. It's going to be more of a component failure. You look at your new cars, right? It's not so much that the car falls apart; it's the components within usually where you have your issues. And so a lot of times that technology will outdate itself and then become unsupportable. So that's unfortunately the challenge we face. But the packaged units that we're getting now are a little bit easier to retrofit down the road when that time comes. But we do have good equipment going in.
Okay.
significantly more efficient too. So that's worth noting.
Significantly,
Yep. All right, Riverside Elementary. So the progress here, we've completed the 6 classrooms that we've gotten into early and have those all punch listed out and are being used for some storage items and stuff like that now by Sheila and her team out there. We got some door frames delivered, and the big activity or the big push right now is the move out plan. So we've got connexes on site and Sheila's staff running around getting everything pulled out of the rooms and moved into connexes, and starting into the demo phase right as soon as they're leaving. We'll be breaking into the rooms and starting to remove casework and other finishes that are scheduled to be demolished and redone. Any questions on Riverside?
So within our firm, we know that there's a huge locker shortage and delivery issue, and it's huge. It's absolutely, it's a big red flag right now. You don't have lockers, or you don't have them scheduled to be delivered. We don't know if we're gonna get them. And it's gonna be, we're talking, 20, 30 some weeks. So, on first thing this morning, I called Mark. I'm like, Mark, where are you at with your lockers exactly? Because, so just to give you an idea on procurement, Mark has all of Riverside's lockers are gonna be delivered here early June, and Lowell's lockers early August, and he has a signature in blood, I believe. I'm not sure, but.
Yes, I have confirmation in writing and plenty of conversations to make sure it's happening, but that's one of the things that we try to manage and stay in front of. The other one was like the steel joists. Those have now turned into a super long lead item, so everybody's calling to make sure we've got them coming, and we're lucky to be in front of that one on these two. So
yeah, so we've worked. So just to let you know, we have tried to turn every stone over that we can to make sure that we get our materials, even if we have to receive them in June. We're going to receive them. So, so anyway, if we have all the materials, we can put them in place. That's the idea here. So. All right. Questions on the presentation before A building? Okay, I'll turn this back over to Scott. Implement the escape. There you go.
Jen, do you have the,
What's there? It
Was
might be
there?
on the bottom. There's a PowerPoint on the bottom, is
it's not PowerPoint, it was a PDF.
that was that one, okay. Here, I get both of yours. Which one? This one? That's the drawings, right? 39. I'll send it, is that there? Let me send it to it real quick. I got it. Oh. Here it is.
That one did say A-wing documents at the bottom.
Yeah, that was all the drawings for your
Oh.
board book. Not the presentation.
All right, did we come through? Technology is wonderful when it works. I sent it, it should be coming up.
There it
There
is.
it is.
There, okay. That's the one,
There
right?
it is, that's the one.
Okay.
Oh, very nice.
There you go. Perfect.
All right. A-wing redesign project, so where we're at in the project right now, I'm not sure how to make this a full, there it is. All right, so the project itself, the remodel consists of demoing out the existing main level and the upper level of the A-comp, or Area 4 as we like to call it. Essentially tearing out the southern and western stairwells. The northern stairwell coming out of Area 2, or the new addition, would be rotated 90 degrees on its axis. The easterly existing stairwell will remain the same, just receive a essentially reskinning of the treads. All the green spaces on the two diagrams that are attached are educational spaces, so those are your teachers' classrooms. Mainly English and social studies on the lower level. The blue is special education, pink are teacher resource type rooms. Our brown are mechanical spaces, and kind of the taupe color are our bathrooms. So part of this project is moving 2 of the existing staff bathrooms out of the main corridor, which travels east to west into Area 3. One of the goals was to open up circulation and be able to use all of the 6 fire doors that separate 4 from Area 3. To do that, we pulled everything out of there. It will be a learning commons type layout, which the main level on the upper diagram Each of those 4 commons does have its own separate learning commons, which will be carpet floors. The main corridor on the main floor is terrazzo. In the upper level, we have 11 science classrooms with H2I providing science casework for those classrooms. So of the 11, we have 3 chemistry, 4 biology, 1 physics, and 3 earth sciences. But with changing in curriculums, we are keeping all of the classrooms generally the same so they can be utilized they can change easily with the changing curriculum in science. And also on the second floor is the language classrooms in the upper right-hand corner. The finishes will be VCT, flooring, carpet in there as well. And that's gonna be consistent with our standard colors, our schedule. So right now we're at the point where we're moving from kind of DD into construction documents. We still have to go back and get another plan review. We will be looking to wrap these up by the end of August and then immediately send it to the state for review and send it out to contractors for pricing. Because this is not being competitively bid, we're following a little bit of a different kind of process through this, whereas we can work with the contractors more to validate the pricing. Right now, pricing is very, very volatile with materials being all over the place. And, the hope is that we can see that level out and come back to normal before we go back out to bid. If not, we can look at some other avenues. Just with the material prices, we were projecting it to be slightly over budget compared to what we had initially talked about. But again, we're not going out for a competitive bid on this. If we get down to finishing up our documents and we determine we're still over budget and we're not seeing materials come back down, we can look at addressing things at that time or working with the contractors to make it more closely aligned. Main level overall plans. So as you can see, we're not changing anything to the exterior of the building. Everything's staying primarily the same. High school is kind of made into 3 different levels. The upper level, lower levels are consisted of the whole northern half of the building. We get to the lower level on the far southern portion of the building where we get the aux gym and the pool. Our main level floor plan here. So again, just talking about our learning common spaces. This is the stairwell that's staying the same. This one's the stairwell that will be rotating 90 degrees on its axis. Moving the bathrooms, all support spaces over from out of that hallway. Upper level floor plan, you can see, as I had mentioned, all of our science, biology, chemistry, and physics classrooms are all laid out very much the same. They're all getting the same science casework. The only difference between the classrooms is the chemistry labs will have dedicated fume hoods, but that's because of the chemicals that they work with. Other than that, we are still keeping with the learning commons, although the learning commons will be along the western half of the skylight portion. And then our language rooms will have a learning commons in the northeast corner of the building as well. Reflective ceiling plan. Essentially, we've already purchased all the ceiling tile for the project, so we're using kind of a 1-for-1 here. The only thing different is our door pockets. We'll have hard lids with lights coming down from them, which you'll see in one of the next pictures. Roof plan, really the only thing that we're changing with the roof, because it's already been re-roofed, is just adding additional penetrations for the new air handling equipment that's going in. Here is our learning commons images. So this is our main level. You can kind of see the pockets that would have the hard lid with the lighting. There is a pretty good amount of transom glass to allow the natural light to come in from our existing windows on the exterior of the building. These 2 pictures are from the first level, and then this is the science learning commons up on the upper level there. Framing, we're really not doing anything crazy with the framing. We are infilling our 2 stair columns. We're removing 1 structural wall, load-bearing wall, in order to get our physics classroom nestled in there. But other than that, a couple of beams and some concrete to patch that back in where the stairs were. Mechanical, the goal of the mechanical is to reuse as much of the existing mains as possible. So that's why there's some chases and hard lids on the first floor, is to hide our existing mains on the north and south side. On the main level, on the upper level, we will reutilize most of the mains and the plenum returns. We are keeping the air handlers in the same room, so they're designing a special air handling unit that we can knock down and assemble it in the space. And electrical, kind of the same thing. The whole building's getting gutted, so we'll be rerunning new power, fire alarm, data, all that fun stuff with all the electrical outlets to power our new science classrooms. And that's A-Wing. Kind of ran through that quickly, but
That looks
questions on that?
Yeah, are there any questions? This is incredible. So, we were just at the new Lincoln Education Center, and we talked about how it's going to be a state-of-the-art facility, and this will also be a state-of-the-art facility for our community. And I just want to take this time to thank the community of ISD 181 for supporting this wonderful project. It really shows a commitment on the part of our public to support quality education, where every child in this district deserves the same quality education. And we're doing that throughout with this building project. So thank you.
Absolutely. That's it.
Okay.
All right.
So we ready for the vote? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So our next action item then would be approval of the schematic design development of the Brainerd High School Academic Wing, A-Wing, and move into construction document development as presented.
I'll move to approve as presented.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Boyles, second by Director Sjogren to approve the schematic design development of Brainerd High School A-Wing, and then to move into the construction document development. Is there any further discussion? Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Thank you. And now we're going to go into looking at the different access control and video surveillance systems for some of our elementaries.
Yep, hi, good afternoon. Long time no see. Real quick, before I jump into this here and just following up with what Damien and Mark and Scott and everybody has said, I just want to take a moment and thank our buildings and ground staff at these elementary schools where we're getting ready for construction. Over the weekend, we've had a number of staff in all weekend long, moving equipment out, furniture out, getting the teachers' boxes and stuff out into Connex boxes so we can get well on our way. So I just want to take a moment and thank all of them for all of their hard work, and specifically Jeff Flayton has been doing a fantastic job for us coordinating moving companies and equipment and people in spaces where we're getting ready for this construction. So I just wanted to take a few seconds to thank them personally here. In front of you on this board action is for 3 schools. At each one of these sites, we are proposing to put in a card access system, which is part of our safe and secure entrances directive as part of our construction projects, as well as a video surveillance system addition to the building. The multiple proposals that are in front of you break it down based on equipment and labor. They do fall in line with the budgets, other than what our original budget was for Riverside was more in line. We kind of penciled in what we were putting in more at like Harrison and Lowell. So obviously that school is a lot bigger than what we had, what we needed at Harrison and Lowell. So that's why that cost difference is a little bit more for Riverside. But as a whole, it's right in line with what we received for the other projects at Baxter, Nisswa, and Harrison pricing wise. And so we were able to come in on budget for the schools in front of you here today.
Reed, is this all one contractor?
It is one contractor, and it's purchased on CPC contracts, so it's a cooperative purchasing contract, so we don't have to publicly bid these solutions here. These are already pre-vetted.
And I should add again, the voters wanted us to have safe and secure schools.
Yep.
And this is the end product. So thank you once again to the voters of the district for doing this, because our kids will be safe now.
Yeah, we actually just received a little bit of feedback. We partnered with the Crow Wing County Sheriff's Office, and so I know our district technology office, Ryan Schultz, and then the Crow Wing County IT department, they've actually got it set up to where if we ever get into a situation where we have a duress event at one of our schools, that the Sheriff's Office can see our video feeds from our buildings right on their dispatch center wall. And so that was one of the projects I got to work on. It's a 20-foot video display wall, and so they can broadcast those cameras live to any responding agency that they dispatch for, which is obviously any community in Crow Wing County that they dispatch for. So we're going to have a really great partnership with them when it comes to additional safety within our facilities.
That's great.
Yep.
Okay, you've heard Director Teesey. Any other questions, comments, motion?
Move to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion by Director Hegland, second by Director Blacklance to approve all of these proposals from Allstate Communications for Lowell, Garfield, and Riverside, not to exceed these amounts. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose like sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Next, we have the presentation of the annual ACOMP report from Beth Cooper. Good afternoon.
Hello. So this is my first go through, not my first practice, but I'm saying my first time in front of you all, so taking a big breath here. All right, my name is Beth Cooper. I'm the ACOMP coordinator here at Brainerd Public Schools. So we've had 14 years now of ACOMP, and really what ACOMP has done is provide the structure and the opportunity for teachers to talk about teaching, to learn from and with one another, to increase their leadership skills and capacity, and to focus their work on student learning. Our ACOMP plan supports our mentoring and coaching programs. It aligns with the district's long-range plans, and then it is also a huge part of it's embedded with our teacher development and evaluation plan, so it's a really good Venn diagram. Yeah. So first of all, I wanted to talk a little bit about the impact on the hybrid and distance learning that took place this year. So there's two structures that really supported this. First was the professional learning communities. This is where our groups of teachers would work together towards a common goal. And they study the data and work to adjust instructional plans accordingly in the moment. And then we also have our curriculum leaders who are always working on improving or aligning instruction and assessment to our benchmarks. So they're really always working on improvement. So together, these two systems really provided a place and time for teachers to align their work so that as students and teachers moved in and out of distance and in-person learning, we were able to do that as seamlessly as possible. There are 5 components to our ACOMP program. The ACOMP professional development and trainings. So all of our leaders, our peer coaches, our PLC leaders, and our curriculum leaders are all trained at the beginning of the year and then receive some ongoing training during the year. Our new teachers are also trained through our ACOMP program, including the new teacher orientation day and then also some other days throughout the year. We also are a part of the teacher appraisal, so we have our peer coaching and our mentoring program. Each teacher in our district is assigned to a peer coach who then helps to facilitate some reflection and discussion. They do observations and they're trained for that to help increase teacher reflection and for them to be able to really improve their practice as we go. We have a site level achievement goal. So each site has their own goal that is submitted to the state. When the building or that site makes that goal, then there's a stipend for that. And then the salary enhancement through participation. So all of the people who participate in ACOMP receive salary enhancement, and then our leaders will receive enhancement on top of that as well. The ACOMP program financially supports a number of things. Like I mentioned earlier, the leadership trainings. For our new teachers, we do our trainings for our mentors, also the new teacher trainings. We pay for substitutes for reverse observation, so sometimes a teacher might go to their peer coach's room or another teacher's room and observe them instead of being observed. There are $300,000 worth of district positions that are paid for out of ACOMP, including our elementary math and science integrationist, our elementary literacy coordinator, and our K through 12 SPED curriculum specialist. And then we also support testing for the, for the elementary, the literacy testing that takes place several times a year. We pay for substitutes so that the teachers can do that and look at data. Our recommendations going into the 2021-22 school year is really so that we can focus our training and instructional strategies by aligning our PLC work with our peer coaching. So instead of the teachers working in their PLC together as a group and then going off and learning something different or working on something different with their peer coach, but to really align that work so that they're not just working at it in a group, but they're also working on it individually and with their peer coach. We want to really tighten up our peer coaching model, especially our informal observations. We've created some new tools to help facilitate some reflective discussion before and after the observations take place. Our plan is to be training all of our peer coaches in these tools over the summer. And then we're adding 5 PLCs. 4 of these are to the high school. And then in the core areas, so science, social studies, math, and English language arts. And then the TOSA PLC was getting really large, and we saw a need to break the special ed TOSAs apart, so they are going to be their own group next year. And then we've also added a speech language pathologist CCC leader for that group. The governing body of the ACOMP program is the ACLT, or the ACOMP leadership team. The voting members are made up of 3 teacher and 3 administrative representatives. Our teacher reps are Chris Wyman, Christina Lundgren, and Lori Wigg. And then our administrative reps are Tim Murtha, Nate Merseth, and Jody Kennedy. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just have a comment. So Director Nelson and myself were on the board 14 years ago when this was first brought by the Plenty administration.
Sure.
And when the legislature set this up, it seemed like there was a timeline where maybe it would eventually sunset out. But the legislature is continuing this, right? Do you see any end on the horizon for ACOMP?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. So it's been supported by both Democratic and Republican administrations?
I don't know enough about that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I don't mean
okay.
to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. I don't know enough about that. I from what I know from the MD website and from the meetings that I've been in, as far as I know, it's not going away anytime soon. They're not adding more school districts.
Okay.
But
it's a marvelous program.
It's, yes, it
But
is.
a couple of years ago, they did. They added a bunch more programs. They had X amount of dollars available, and they added some programs to align with that. But yeah, I haven't heard of any further. But yeah, I concur with her that I think it's pretty alive and well.
It's kind of a fixed dollar amount, right?
Yep.
So we still can afford to add these new positions.
Yes, and so with those positions that were added, there were some just naturally removed. So like Lowell is kind of restructuring some things in their building, and one of their PLCs is going away. So that money from that leader can go to another leader. There's just some different places where, and we're our budget is really healthy right now, so we're in good shape.
And I would guess this past year, the PLCs kind of had to transition to a different type of learning because of so really, as far as what your initial goals were for this last year, they probably changed a lot in the PLCs, is that correct?
Yeah, I think a lot of our PLCs knew from the beginning that technology and learning technology was going to be really important. And I think the other piece that our PLCs really did well this year was stay together. You know, sometimes people will get more ahead or behind one another, and this really, because students were moving in and out of different models, they really needed to stay together as much as possible so that when students did that, they weren't completely lost when they came back to in-person or went to distance learning. So that managing that equity piece as far as whether you're in distance or whether you're in person was a huge piece of that.
Good way at this.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other comments or questions?
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your
you.
passion on leading this.
Thanks.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Also move.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Nelson, second by Director Sjogren, to approve the annual ACOMP report as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Next, we're going to hear from Charlie Campbell. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm asking for board action today to dissolve a cooperative agreement with Pillager Public Schools, Pillager High School specifically, related to our wrestling program. We've been a longtime cooperative partner. This request is actually coming from Pillager schools. They do not currently have any wrestlers in the 9 through 12 high school program, and they are shifting a lot of their cooperative agreements to the south towards Little Falls as a significant part of their student population kind of resides between those two districts, and they just feel for their programs it makes sense. We fully support that decision by Pillager, and I'm just asking for your approval of that dissolution because we would be the only school remaining in that agreement. There's no application for new cooperative sponsorship that would be necessary with that. So it's simply the action on the one. And this is also a good time just to have a conversation. Myself, Superintendent Larson, Principal Rusk, we get asked pretty regularly by neighboring school districts, hey, we've got a student that's interested in you name it, and we don't offer the program in our school. We would really like to establish a cooperative agreement with Brainerd High School. We have typically moved away from establishing those agreements unless it really allows us to offer the full range of competitive program that's necessary to run the programs if there's a benefit for our kids. What we are saying by doing that is if you like our programs, enroll in our school system. We think we have fantastic schools, and we would like you to become a part of our school district. And that's one way to do it. Other schools choose different ways to do that. I think, it's an interesting conversation because school districts truly compete for students. And this is one way we distinguish ourselves from our neighbors. And say this is what we have to offer, and therefore we'd like you to choose our school systems. And so that has been kind of the previous, most current philosophy from the school board, and I know we have some new faces on the board, but I would welcome this as an opportunity maybe to ask questions of that philosophy or any further discussions before I retreat.
Charlie, do we have any cooperative agreements with not only Pillager, but Pequot Lakes and Crosby? that are still there?
We do. We are not actively dissolving any agreements that have been in place. Sometimes we have been forced, like this particular instance, to take action. But we have basically said we're going to continue in agreements that we do have, but not establish any new ones because somebody's requesting that. Another good example, we pair with Little Falls in girls hockey. And what that partnership has allowed us to do is offer a JV and a varsity schedule. There have been a number of years where without those Little Falls participants, we would play varsity only. And it's a lot less attractive to schedule Brainerd in a Class AA program against larger schools when they have to look at us and say, you mean our JV kids don't get to play? No, we'll find somebody else. And so it really is important that we maintain a level of programming that our partners, our opposing schools, rely on for their kids' participation and experience as well. We have a number of cooperative agreements in place, but I don't have it in front of me. But we still do. There's quite a few.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions?
No, I would just suggest staying the course like you've been managing these agreements, and I would move to approve this dissolve with Pillager on the wrestling as presented.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Hegland, second by Director Boyles to dissolve the cooperative sponsorship in wrestling with the Pillager School District. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Great, thank you. Once that document is signed, I will return it to the high school league office, and that will be all the work that needs to be done.
And it's actually already done, Charlie. I don't know if you want to. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 8. This is the approval of the second and final reading of the updated MSBA policy, student medication, as part of the 3-year policy review as presented. And this was just a review. There were no changes, but we have to still pass this.
I'll move that we approve as presented.
Okay. Second. Okay, we have a motion by Director Sjogren, second by Director Blacklance, to approve the second and final reading of the updated MSBA policy 516. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Next, we have approval of MSBA policies for the 3-year review as presented below. We originally had 412 in there, but that was removed. And are there any, do you want
There's
to?
no changes to these.
Okay.
They're just being updated on the regular 3-year cycle, and there are no changes. So we recommend approval.
Okay.
I'll move the approval of these 5 policies.
Is there a second?
I second.
Oh, okay. We have a motion by Director Nelson, second by Director Blacklance, to approve MSBA policies as shown below for the 3-year review as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Next, we have the approval of having 1 additional board representative on the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee, otherwise known as APAC, and the Equity Advisory Teams.
And 2 on the equity advisory team.
Okay. Yeah, and there will be 2 people for the Equity Advisory Team. Do you want to address this?
It would be adding to, yes, if you remember at the January meeting of the Board of Education, that's where we do all of the, who the chair is going to be. We do all the election of officers. And then one of the things that we've done is we've had different leads for different teams within the district. And then there are a number of committees or teams throughout the school district where they ask for board representation. When you approve those, at that time, there was 1 representative on the APAC committee and 1 on the equity committee, and it ended up being Mr. Blacklance on both of those. And one of the conversations that has come out through the vote of non-concurrence and just some of the things that have been brought up is that we feel that it would be really nice to have at least 1 more board member on those committees to do the work along with Mr. Blacklands. And so the request for today is to request from the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee, adding of one board member to that committee and 2 additional people to the Equity Advisory Committee. And so that is the recommendation, but you need to approve that before you can approve who you would like to appoint.
Okay.
Any questions that anyone has? Okay, thanks.
Go ahead, Charles.
I wonder if at this point, if there would be room to perhaps, and I'm not sure of the process here, but to perhaps table that, this discussion, just to make sure that all board members have the opportunity to voice interest or be part of that conversation about who wants to be where.
On both?
On both.
Okay.
Or we could just discuss it right here now.
Okay. I'd be fine with that too. Yep.
Yep, I think so, yeah.
Thank you.
Does someone want to start?
Can we make one motion to include both committees, or do we need 2 separate motions?
You can do one committee, you can do one vote on this, but when it comes to the representatives, that would be separate motions if you choose to do that. But you can also divide this because it is a regular board meeting, so you can divide it if you wish.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I'll put a motion out there to add 1 additional board member to the APAC and 2 additional board members to the Equity Advisory Team.
Okay.
And it might be semantics, but are we requesting from APAC the addition of a board member?
Yeah, I think we have to ask APAC if they're okay with another board member. But I think with the vote of non-concurrence and such that, I'm speaking for them, but what I sensed is that they're looking for more communication with the board. And so it would be for that purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll second Director Shogan's motion.
So before we vote for Director Blacklands, then we'll have a discussion. Is there any other discussion?
I'm just curious on the reason for 2 on the one and 3 on the other committee. Doesn't matter to me, but.
I guess I'll speak to that. I think we have a heavy lift to do with equity in our district, to be perfectly honest. And I think that it's important that we show a strong support from this board to be involved in that work. That's my personal narrative.
And I think if the APEC team would like more than 2, they could request that of us and we could reconsider it. But we don't even know for sure if they want 1 on the actual committee. I mean, 2 on the, 1 additional one on the committee.
It's all equity work, really.
Yes.
APAC is just much more specific.
Right.
Whereas the equity committee is, I feel, much more broad in terms of topics and issues that we would need to address and trainings to bring and that kind of thing.
Okay. Sound good? Is everyone ready for the vote? So we're going to put them both together, correct? Yeah. Yeah, both of these are together. So any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the 2, or the 1 motion for the 2, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose like sign. Motion passes. Let's see here. Do we want to do the people now, or?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
Can we do equity first, since that's the bigger one? And then
Okay. So, let's see, for the Equity Advisory Team,
It'd be for 2 people then.
okay, and are we going to name those people right now?
What?
Well,
You
I
guys
think
can
we
have
need
that
discussion
conversation.
on who would like to be part of that.
I'm sorry, would it be 2 more?
Yes,
That's correct.
And I would already be on there?
yes,
Okay,
you're
got it.
already on, and then it would be 2 more, because we can have up to 3.
Up to 3.
Yep, without it being a quorum.
Okay.
So I can open the discussion. I've had ongoing discussions really since I joined the board back in late January with Director Blacklands when I was made aware of the work that this committee, the task force, was doing. And we had some discussions, and then I would say probably in the last couple of weeks, I had even more discussions where I volunteered and then formally volunteered early this week to be on that group. At that time, with the understanding there was only going to be 1 more person added, but I know that when that board meeting, when we talked about it, there was a desire expressed to have multiple board members on there. So I really, I'm very much behind the idea of having 3 of us on there.
Okay.
And I'll just speak up that I'm willing, I wouldn't wanted to throw my name in the hat to participate. I
Great.
believe strongly in that work, and I'm willing to get involved.
Okay.
I would
You have a
move,
strong background with your job.
I'll move to appoint Director Sjogren and Director Boyles to add to our equity advisory team.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Hagelin, second by Director Nelson, to approve Director Boyles and Director Sjogren to be added to the Equity Advisory Team. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, I would just like to say that I'm really excited about this. I think that it's very early in the process with what they're doing, and we get the reports at this board meeting, but the idea that we can have multiple sets of eyes, ears, and mouths on this to be able to champion what we're doing and maybe even expand what they're doing over there and, you know, expand our partnership with the community. I think that's going to be key to the success of this kind of stuff. And so I couldn't tell you, I'm really, really excited. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we'll take the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Then we'll go on to approve a second board representative on the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee.
I would be willing to take that on if
Okay, is that okay?
like.
What do you think?
I'll move to nominate Director Nelson to join our APEC.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Director Hagelin, second by Director Boyles, to approve Director Nelson to be the second board representative on the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Yep.
Exciting.
Well, this is, I know, always a fun part for Superintendent Larson. We're going to look at the approval of the administrative recommendation to issue a 21-22 contract to the following certified staff members, resulting in the granting of tenure.
You're absolutely right. This is always extremely exciting for me because I think the thing most amazing to me, though, this year when Janet brought forward the list is how few people we have getting tenure. And it really goes to show that we just haven't been hiring a lot of people the last few years. But I am so excited for these 13 people. To gain tenure is really a huge accomplishment in a professional career of a teacher. And I want to commend all of these people, and we'll send letters on behalf of the Board of Education to say, well done, congratulations, and thank you for your commitment to children and making the difference in the lives of our future. So I would recommend with great strength that you approve this list.
Well, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to
I
approve?
move to approve the administration recommendation to issue 2021-22 contract to following certified staff members, resulting in the granting of tenure.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion by Director Blackland, second by Director Sjogren, to approve tenure to the teachers that are listed here. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Congratulations to all of these teachers. They've worked hard,
Yeah.
and we just are so thankful for the work that they do.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting near the end. Actually, informational. So Director Blacklands, do you want to do the Equity Task Force report?
Absolutely. All right, I have a few different things here that I would like to share. Before I list the actual talking points I'd written down, I feel it's important for me to take just a moment to share a few thoughts or suggestions as it relates to the Equity Task Force. On a personal note, I am a Christ follower, and Jesus is my personal Lord and Savior, and that's a significant lens that I view the world in. And the reason why I share that and why that's so important is that as it relates to equity work, or as it relates to the work that we're moving forward with, the Equity Task Force, it's important to know that. But that's my particular lens. That's not necessarily everybody on the board's particular lens. And I respect that and honor that. One of my favorite quotes that I wanted to share, though, was pursuing racial harmony and unity and love and respect cost Jesus his life. Not to pursue this is to belittle the blood of Jesus. Pastor John Piper. I think it's important that you all know that that's a lens, again, that I view the world, and I view a lot of my work and as it relates to representing members of this community and those that might not necessarily share the same lens as myself. It's also important to know that my daughter, Olivia, who's 13 now in 7th grade, when she was in kindergarten, she came home and talked to Catherine and I, my wife and I, about a movie that they played during a rainy day that had the song, "Why Is the Red Man Red?" So if any of you have seen that, it's in with Peter Pan. And but it created a lot of questions for my daughter, Olivia. Fortunately, she's bright, and she knew enough to ask some questions, and more importantly, to let mom and dad know that there was some questionable content there. And that's not to intentionally give ISD 181 a black eye. It's just pointing out some of the realities of the world in which we live. When she hit 1st grade was the first time that my daughter, Olivia, was told that American Indians, or in her words, Indians are dumb, by a number of people on the playground. And as a parent, again, fortunately, my daughter shared with us that. But to her frustration and to ours, there wasn't enough understanding for that to be, in my mind, properly handled. Again, that's just a reality of our experience. And that's the Black Lance family experience. It does make a point that equity work, that racial harmony, that understanding, that unity is important, not just in high school, not just in college, but as early as kindergarten, because children like my own are walking through this today. The time is now to handle this type of reality. So with that being said, I feel it's really important that we move forward with our work as it relates to the Equity Task Force. It's a very uncomfortable process. It really is. It's scary. It's emotional. And it's sometimes, like some people shared from our group here, or from our audience here, that's an area that's kind of difficult to understand because we may not have articulated ourselves clearly enough. But the reality is it's important work. And it's important that we move forward as a school district in this area to create trust and safety. This has to be paramount as we work with our children. We need to be thinking children first every time when we work and we have this type of work. We can't allow, this is my own personal thought, is we can't allow fear by a few or by many to dissuade us from this work, and by instilling this trust and following through with this promise of trust and safety for our students. Finally, as we go through this process, I think, in my opinion, that we exposed ourselves a little bit in terms of our processes here on the board. Not any one person's fault. But I think in the realities of open meeting laws, we've fallen back into some processes that I don't know if they're best. I think it's a way we used to do business, but I think, and I believe we can do better, and we must do better. Because I think our processes were a bit exposed. Not that we did anything underhanded or intentionally in the dark, but it definitely comes across as being done behind closed doors in the dark. So one suggestion I have, and it's just one suggestion moving forward, and then I'll move on with my report, is perhaps we look at working groups or something where I can have a conversation with Tom or Ruth about these type of things, and not trying to play phone tag or what have you. Just trying to make sure we're all on the same page while honoring the open meeting laws. So it's a challenge that I have that we get to that place where we can all meet and function as a board, but make sure that we're all at the table. And that's really important. So with that being said, I believe that equity is an important work. And at our last meeting, we had some really important work that we covered. And the first thing that we covered was we focused on best possible outcomes, meaning narrowing them down. And just like some have shared, it's a broad task. It's a broad effort that we're moving forward with. And but we're still trying to boil that down. And what we may see today is a snapshot of where we're heading. But I challenge the board, I challenge our community to be an active part in this process. And it's a challenge for us to make sure that we're transparent for those in the community on all sides of the equity discussion, but also to make sure that each one of us board members are at the table through that process. Number two, we discussed utilizing the outcomes to create a needs assessment that will direct the continued work of the task force. That's really important in terms of understanding what do we need. Again, I think we heard loud and clear. Again, from both sides of the conversation, what might be needed, and it's our role alongside those of those in our district and our professionals to make sure that that we understand that need and what that need is and how that's articulated. Number 3 out of 4, outcomes will tie to the district mission. Equity work will create a vision. I think we could argue that we're not there yet. We're getting there. We're doing some hard work. I like the word that Director Sjogren shared, that there's a lot of heavy lifting to be done. Excited to see the new board members that are going to be part of this process. And I'm so glad for them to be joining us, and Superintendent Larson on her leadership as we charge through that vision and that transparency of that process. And then finally, we worked on connectivity with CLC, wanting to continue connectivity with CLC, Central Lakes College, the Chamber, Essentia Health, Crow Wing County, and then also DEED. So I believe that we have a lot of important work ahead of us on the Equity Task Force. But just so you all know, we're definitely taking it seriously. We got our nose to the grindstone. I think we're doing some good work. I do ask for patience from the community. Be willing to ask us questions. Hopefully we are all available to you. And I think, again, this exercise we've gone through the last week articulates that or demonstrates that we are accessible. But we have some work to do on that front as well. And then finally, the Equity Task Force is a way forward. It's an important way forward, but it's one that's important for us to do as a community, and it's one that, as an Equity Task Force, we'll continue to request input from all of you as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Director Blacklance. I just wanted to say I think you're a very brave and honorable man. You're one of the smartest people that I know. And it's such an honor to have you on this board because, as you said, this work is really important. And we hit a roadblock here, but it doesn't mean that we're stopping our work. So thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Nystrom, could I just make a comment on the
Absolutely,
report?
please.
I just appreciated so much what you shared about your daughter Olivia, and you reiterated your point again. And I think it was Susanna who addressed us. She gave us a list of questions, and I just think that's a fabulous approach always. We had a rough bump this week, as you said, Bob. And I would just encourage all of us. I know we all received many emails, phone calls, some that were questions, some were just outright, this is how I feel, or demands, or however you want to look at it. And I want to represent as many perspectives in our community as we can, but I just think in order to do this important work and move forward together, we have to be willing to not think we know everything automatically from a snippet or a soundbite, and we have to ask questions. And so I guess that's just my comment. I just think that even I didn't know everything about this training that was to take place by any means, but immediately questions popped into my mind. Well, why? Who? When? And so I hope that maybe we can even have learned a lesson as a board, and I hope we can ask questions of each other and of our constituents. I did that with one particular email. Somebody said, well, I don't like this. And I asked a question back, can you please give me a specific example so I can learn more? Blanket statements and blanket complaints don't get us anywhere. We need to know specifics and we need to understand where people are coming from. So I guess that's just my comment, is I hope we can all do better and all of us ask questions and learn.
Thank you, Director Sjogren. Is there any other comments anyone want to make?
Yeah, it's a comment and a question. I want to thank Charles and the other two that have volunteered to join this equity task force. The caution I would say is that will never end. So it isn't, let's don't look at it as we've got our sights to try to get someplace, because it'll never end. This has been around for years and years and years, and it's going to continue. But how we work together is a journey that we need to keep pushing forward with. But it'll be a challenge forever, as long as we're humans. The other thing, and I may not have connected the dots, but I did make a note something about open meeting law before you gave your presentation, and I'm concerned about, I'm not sure if I missed something with that, Charles, or if there's been some concerns with that, because that is one of the things from being transparent that at least I pride myself in, and I didn't know if I missed something.
Sure. I think I appreciate that. With this process, when it came down to Dr. Lensmeyer, early on in the process, and when I say process, about a week and a half, I was able to share a thought in a meeting, and that was good. That was one opportunity to share some thoughts that I had. But what I did not do is I did not have the opportunity to address the board, all of you right now, to articulate context, at least from where I'm at. I did not have that opportunity to share experiences that I may have had that might be important in providing color to the situation, like my daughter Olivia with why is the red man red, or the situation that she ran into in first grade, in terms of the importance of this particular matter. What happened was there was an assumption of my stance, which it was mostly right, but without the opportunity to be sitting across like we're doing right now, that puts me, at least in this particular situation, in a very awkward position, because I, as a board member, didn't feel I truly had the opportunity to be heard. Now, that's not Director or Chair Nystrom's issue. That I understand that some of those open meeting laws kind of get in the way of that, or we have a 4-hour meeting all the time. So that's where I threw out the idea of maybe we have a work session beforehand where we could have some of these conversations for us to calibrate as a board, and then we can move on to the board meeting and make decisions that need to be made.
So your desire was before the change of who the speaker is, that perhaps we'll wait until after this meeting, so that, I'm still not following. If we're all going to get together, that's going to be a board meeting, so I'm still not following.
It is an open meeting, right? Yep.
Right, and I understand that, but I think when it comes to those type of matters and this significant of an issue that I think we have represented here, that's not something that can just happen over the phone, or happen, hey, we know what Charles's thoughts are on this, so he's counted as a no or as a yes. We have to operate as a board. And I think we had an example of that right here just a few moments ago when we discussed about the equity the board members are going to join that, and then the American Indian Task Force. Took a little bit longer, but we were able to talk about that here, and that felt really good. And I think that's a step in the right direction. And that's really what I'm after. I mean, whether it looks like a work session before every board meeting, I don't know. The point is, I want opportunities. I need opportunities to process and not necessarily throw a bomb of questions at Ruth or Kevin in the middle of a board meeting.
And I can speak to it too. I think that as a new board member, I'm learning all the time about how all these things work. I don't know about you, Kevin.
Absolutely.
We received significant feedback on this issue, and what I learned is, and I think it's a good education for the public too, people have a perception about what our role is as board members and what it isn't. And ultimately, it was leadership's decision. It was Lean and her team who decides whether or not a training happens or not. So full disclosure for everyone to know that. However, I do think in this situation, understandably, because there was so much community feedback, I do think that board members' views were sought out, and I think that's okay. I mean, we should be able to be here as a sounding board for Superintendent Larson when she needs it. I do think it entered into where a lot of opinions were sought out. It was still ultimately the superintendent's decision, but I don't know that everyone's voice was heard. I think we entered into a point where I think, I don't know, I'm still new, but I felt it should have been a full board discussion with the way it went. And we did not violate anything. I want to be very
Right.
important in
Yeah.
saying that, or cautious in saying we didn't violate any laws, but that's where we have to do. So maybe I had to have a conversation with Ruth, and Kevin and Charles talked, and I'm just making this up. But I think this was an example of a time when it was tricky. I don't know if everyone's voice was heard and weighed in the decision. Now, ultimately, I'm not pointing any fingers, but I want to be a support when needed. But I also want to make sure if board voice is being weighed, I hope board voice is being weighed equally, if that's possible.
Tack on to
I don't know
that,
if
I mean,
that's
I
fair,
think
but-
once the community sounds off in the way that they did over this last week and a half, as much as it, in theory, is a leadership decision, it becomes a board matter. Now, is it still a leadership decision? I think it is. But I think to Charles' point, in the end, we don't have to sanitize everything before we come into this room. It's okay to have messy discussions in here. Everybody at this table has deep respect for one another. And frankly, it builds equity and, better yet, capital with the community because we're willing to have these discussions in the open. Now, again, I said it during the campaign before I ever sat with this body, was that a lot of this stuff doesn't really require that level, right? I mean, we don't need a 40-minute discussion on the consent calendar. I get that. But some of this stuff is pretty heavy duty, and I think a lot of the angst that's created is the not knowing as opposed to the knowing and being opposed to it. I know that's how I'm wired. I'm like, well, what's going on over there? Are they talking about me? But if it's open and it's transparent, you know, sometimes you can turn on some of those lights in some of those closets and show people there aren't monsters in all of these closets. That, you know, there's a safe place here, and I think if it means that once a month or whatever, we have to do an extended committee work session or something where the 6 of us take on, you know, some of this stuff. I mean, the Equity Task Force can't do it alone, and we need to empower our leadership to make sure that they have the full backing of the board to do what they have to do.
Okay.
Okay. Nice discussion.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, our next thing is the Paul Bunyan Educational Cooperative Board of Delegates update from Director Hegland.
We had our biannual meeting last Thursday. Just a couple things to highlight. One thing that I was, I shouldn't say surprised, but I'm always amazed each time. So just in our district, in our Paul Bunyan Cooperative District, collectively we're serving just a little under 2,800 students. That's a lot of students through this organization. In our district, we're at about 21% statewide. We're at, the state is at about 16%. So we are considerably higher of the number of students that we are serving through our cooperative. We had a presentation from 2 staff members on what they call their EQUIP, which is their evidence-based quality intervention. So it's from birth to 3. So there's been a lot of discussion over the years about getting to the younger kids, and it was pretty amazing. I won't go through all of it, but just they seem to have a program that's dialed in very, very nicely. I'm excited to see what will take place with that. And then just the last comment I'll make is there is a bit of a carryover potential on the COVID, and that is regarding services that the state has said that one of the clauses they have is that any student that missed special education for any reason, there may be, as a district, we might be required to provide these services. And I think that's still in the legislators' hands to make that final decision. Is that right, Lynn?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
It's very,
So pretty amazing work. There was 2 staff resignations, retirements, 3 new hires. Fortunate that we were able to hire. These are very difficult positions to find, but they were able to to make hires. Lane, anything else you want to
Oh,
add?
really, very nicely. Yep, nice and consistent.
How many districts are in the cooperative?
6.
So can you just name them,
Pine River, Bacchus, Pequot, Aiken, Crosby, Brainerd,
Pillager.
Pillager.
okay.
Say it backwards.
Great.
Thank you. Next is the Business Services Report. Marcy Lord.
I will be brief. There, financial reports in your packet. The general fund's tracking along nicely. Community ed and food service are still down just because of the activity that we had this year. Next month, we'll be talking about insurance, work comp, liability. I'll be presenting that. And then I just wanted to second what Reed said about takes a village. We're issuing a check at 7 o'clock this morning so that we could get occupancy at the Welk. So, and I'm sure you've been able to hear all the hubbub. There's a lot going on. You think we're done, but we're not. So just want to, everybody's doing awesome. Good job. We're tired, but we're doing good.
Thanks for all your hard work.
Yeah. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Finally, the superintendent's report.
All right, most of the things, again, we've talked about. There are a couple things, though, that I do want to bring up. One is that we met again this last week. We're trying to get a solution regarding transportation. And we made kind of a final offer right this past week, and we're waiting for a response. We haven't gotten one yet, but we still have work to do to come to a final agreement on our transportation for next year. And so I'm just calling it what it is. We don't have a settled contract at this point, but we hope at the next board meeting maybe we will. We'll see. A couple of things. I just want to, again, this is kind of the last meeting of the school year as far as our students being here. And it's really been a very fun end of the year because, you know, we finally are getting the kids together and the kids are being able to be represented and acknowledged the way they deserve to be. And again, the weather's been holding out for us. And just today, again, was just really heartwarming to see the commitment that the board has made to South Campus and to do the groundbreaking for that facility. Again, we're 10 facilities into the 13 that we're going to be looking at. We're getting really close to the end of this project, but I don't know about you guys, but I was so heartwarmed by the parents and the teachers.
They were great.
They were just awesome about the important work that we do. And sometimes we get caught up in some of the things that aren't as important as hearing what it means really to be meeting all the needs of all of our learners. And I'm really proud of that meeting that we had today and even the conversation we're having today. This is new territory for all of us, and we're trying to figure out how we go through it. And I think we're learning a lot together, and so I'm really proud of that work that we're doing. Also, the graduation on Friday, that too, just with the spring fling, the grad blast, prom, everything just going over so well was just really nice. I want to remind everybody that this Wednesday is the grand opening of the Gitche Zibby Center for the Arts. I hope you can all make it. There are a few tickets left. We can have 425 people at the grand opening on Wednesday. Last I heard, it was 300 and some that have been set aside. It doesn't cost anything, but you do have to have a ticket so that we're living within that 425. That's the limit that we can do. It begins at 6 o'clock, but we are going to kind of have a little bit of a, for the board, just let you know how it's all going to happen with ribbon cutting and those kinds of things. So we're going to meet in the cafeteria and kind of go through the logistics and where people should sit and those kinds of things so that all of you as board members will be up on the stage doing the ribbon cutting along with Principal Rusk, Assistant Superintendent Hahn, and myself. And it's going to be really a lovely grand opening of the facility. We do not have the plaque And usually we would be dedicating that at the same time. But until the last board meeting, we didn't have a name. And so now that we have a name and everything, we're really excited because we can get that ordered and we'll have it and we will put that up in the facility as soon as we get it. That being said, we're just, this morning we had an executive team meeting and literally you could tell just the raw emotion that everybody had because it's been a hard year and yet it's been a really good year together and we made it. And I truly believe that we made it and we did as well as any school in this nation as far as trying to maneuver everything that was asked. And again, I want to just commend the board on that. And I was going to do something, but I'm not going to just because of the length of time. But I am going to do it in my superintendent video newsletter. So I hope that you'll watch it. But a friend of mine, as you know, I had a big birthday this week. A friend of mine gave me this book as a birthday present, and it's called What Do You Make? And it's a book about teachers. And I talked a little bit about it at the groundbreaking, but the one thing that I learned through COVID-19 is that we are all teachers and we all have a really important role. And everybody's role is equally important. Our teachers are extremely important. Our paraprofessionals have been so important. Our food service, providing the meals that they did in such awkward circumstances in so many ways. Our transportation department that had to maneuver to go along with our amendments and to deliver food to our children. Our building and grounds department that was responsible for keeping 6,700 kids healthy and 1,300 staff members. And our parents who had to take over in distance learning and be parents, and our community who so wholeheartedly supported us. And the book is about what do we make, and as teachers, and we are all teachers, and we make a difference. And so I just want to end my message to our staff and to our entire community. Thank you for being teachers. Thank you for making a difference in the lives of our kids. And we did it. We did the best job we could. And everybody's intent was very positive. And did we make mistakes? Yes. But it wasn't because we tried to. We tried to do what was right. And I want to commend the board on loving our kids and the programs that we have and our teachers and our staff and for the support that you've given us. And so it was a great year. And now we want to get this virus gone. And we want to start next fall, and we want to be full-time, and we want to have our kids back in session, and we want it to be back the other way with the lessons that we learned through this process. So thank you very much. And that's why I end today.
Thank you, very well said. Okay, you see the other dates. There are 5 Mondays in May, so we won't be meeting again for 3 weeks. So the next meeting would be June 14th. As Lane said, very important event on May 26th, the opening of the Gitche Zibby Center for the Arts grand opening. And those in the public that are listening, please go online and register for those tickets before they're gone. So is there any other business to come before the board?
This is the oversight committee. It's listed at the 1st, but will it be the 8th instead?
Let me get back to you on that. Let me get back to you on that, but I'm not sure.
It should have been the 2nd.
I'll double check.
Because today's 24th.
Oh, no. It is the day before.
It's usually the Tuesday before, but I can't remember what they decided. So let me double check and I'll get back to the project oversight.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Director Blacklant, second by Director Sjogren to adjourn our meeting. All those in favor,